So what's your plan for day zero? The day your cloud provider just disappears? It sounds a little dramatic, I know, but it's a real-world scenario every single business needs to think about. Today, we're going to talk about how to architect true resilience to make sure your entire operation can survive even when your cloud platform can't.
Okay, let's just imagine a situation that keeps IT leaders, and CEOs for that matter, up at night. You wake up, your phone's blowing up with alerts. It's not just a slowdown or some little bug. Your main cloud provider has had a massive, catastrophic regional failure. Their entire data center is just a black hole. What happens to your business in that exact moment?
For most companies, the fallout is, well, it's immediate. Customer-facing services just vanish. Internal operations grind to a complete stop. All the critical data that fuels your company, suddenly, it's gone. This isn't just some IT headache, right? This is an existential threat. And that's exactly why a real resilience strategy isn't a nice-to-have, it's an absolute must for survival.
So how do we actually build the architecture to stop this from happening? Well, it all starts with mastering the fundamentals. We have to understand the two main tools in our resilience toolkit, two terms that get confused all the time, but are critically different: backups and snapshots.
People use these words interchangeably, but their purposes are worlds apart. A snapshot is super fast. It's perfect for a quick rollback on the same system because it's still tied to the original data. But a true backup, that's a complete independent copy. It's totally self-contained and decoupled from the source, which gives it true portability.
I love this analogy because it just hits the nail on the head. A photo is just a record of a moment, right? But you can't live in it. A packed suitcase, on the other hand, has everything you need to set up shop somewhere totally new. And that portability, that's the absolute key to having genuine multi-cloud resilience.
So how does this whole idea of portability play out with the major cloud providers? Each platform has its own way of doing things, and really understanding the little differences is vital for any architect who's trying to design a system that won't fall over.
So if you look at this breakdown, it's pretty clear that all the big players, AWS, Azure, GCP, they've got you covered for resilience within their own ecosystem. Things like native snapshots, backups, and copying across regions, that's all standard stuff. But look at that last row. True cross-cloud portability, that's not a built-in feature. It's something you have to deliberately plan for, often using third-party tools or some custom work to bridge that gap between clouds.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. The tools are only half the battle. You see, simply having a backup is not the same as having a recovery strategy. The strategy is the blueprint that turns that copy of your data into an actual lifeline for the business.
So here's a proven four-step blueprint. First, you've got to identify your crown jewels, the critical systems you absolutely cannot live without. Second, you define your recovery goals. That's your RPO, how much data you can afford to lose, and your RTO, how quickly you must be back online. Third, you actually architect the data flow across clouds. And finally, the step that separates theory from reality, you automate and you relentlessly test the whole process. At the end of the day, this is your North Star. It's all about creating an independent lifeline for your business operations, a copy of your most important stuff stored in a completely different ecosystem, ready to go when your primary location basically turns into a crater.
Okay, theory and blueprints are great, but how does all this actually perform under pressure? Let's run a fire drill. Let's simulate a full-on disaster recovery event to see where all that planning really pays off.
Okay, T0, the outage hits. Right away, our automated monitoring detects the failure. By T+15 minutes, the failover to our secondary cloud is already kicking off. At the 30-minute mark, critical data is flowing in from those portable cross-cloud backups. And by the 1-hour mark, our core services are back online, serving customers from a completely different cloud.
60 minutes. That single number is everything. It's the difference between a minor disruption that your customers barely even notice and a business-ending catastrophe that makes headlines for all the wrong reasons. And that is the direct result of a well-architected and, most importantly, a well-tested multi-cloud recovery plan.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about for your own systems. It's really easy to check a box and say, yep, our data's backed up. But just having a copy isn't enough. True resilience means having a proven, tested plan to use that copy when everything else has completely failed. So, is your business just backed up, or is it built to survive?